Hi guys, hope everyone's well. Back again. This is the next one of my own boards that I've just made in this batch. It's kind of a little Tom Thumb, do it all, small wave, all round the round tail quad. This has come out really good. I'm really happy with this. I'm quite looking forward to riding this. This will probably suit me really well. So it's 6'2". 21 3/4 and 2 3/4, but it's I've put quite a lot of doming into this deck, and the rails nice and low, like the rails probably more like you'd see on maybe like a 2.5 inch thick board generally. So not too boxy, very smooth, concaves are subtle, and yeah, I just set it up purely as a quad and so we've got a fairly flat rocker. It's just a really nice all-round board. Should do a bit of everything. Round tails are a bit more grippy, but it's kind of like a thumb round tail, so it's still wide enough to carry some speed. I deliberately made it a bit of a slightly different shaped round tail to carry the width of the round tail back through the quad fins, because I knew I was going to make it quad specific, because I'm pretty much a quad guy myself. That's what I ride most of the time. Concaves are quite mellow. It's my usual, but in the more normal natural place. So single through here, into a double through the fins, and then we just split into just a little bit of V at the back, but it pretty much tapers back out to flat off the tail. I've actually got a little bit more on this resin bead at the back if I wanted to just take a little bit more if it gets a bit too flat. So yeah, rails are fairly nice and rounded at the front, lots of tuck, really nice hard edge at the back and blending through, and yeah, should just be a all-round forgiving board. Again, this I've glassed a little bit lighter, so it should still be strong though. It's a 4 ounce on the bottom and there's a 4 and a 6 on the top, but the what I usually do is I'd usually inset the 4 layer and wrap the 6 round. On this time I've gone the other way around and I've inset the 6 layer and then wrap the 4 round. So you still got a 6 and a 4 on the deck, so it's plenty strong, and it's just a 4 on the bottom, but that's, you know, still pretty strong to be honest with epoxy. Shouldn't be any issues, but just makes it a little bit lighter, so it should be a little bit more responsive. Nice and strong. Say they're PU polyurethane blank, and then epoxy resin and the normal fiberglass cloth. Not too much more to say about this really. I'm guessing this is going to be a board for people like me, where it's like you're not really riding anything performance or even really a performance hybrid. You just want something that'll go in a bit of everything, but I've taken some of the elements of some of my more dependable boards for when it's a bit bigger or if I go away, and then just scaled those back and scaled the rocker back into something that's a little bit more grovelly, but it's not weighed down at the full-on groveler level with super flat rocker and super chunky and the super wide nose. Is just very usable, so I've just stretched the length out a little bit to 6'2" rather than a 6'0" or a 5'11", and just refined it out a bit more, so it should do a bit of everything. I guess it's I don't know what it'd even be along the lines of, but it's definitely not as rockered as something like my Quiver Killer, so it's probably like somewhere between it's probably more like a puddle jumper really. I guess it's like a quiver, something between the Quiver Killer and the puddle jumper probably, in terms of outline, template and thickness and stuff, because it's not super chunky, but it's not heavily rockered, and it's not a particularly refined outline, so just a really nice middle ground. I'm really happy with this. Did this one in the it's probably the last bit I've got of the ultra bright Entropy epoxy resin, so this one's got the optical brightener in it, so this is why it looks extremely white, whereas the normal standard resin comes out a little bit yellow looking if you don't put a color tint in it. Yeah, and I think in general I'm just getting a little bit better. I think my outlines have always been fairly good, my rockers I've always been fairly happy with, and my concaves have always been reasonably happy with, but I think the things you learn as you get a bit further on, I got a little bit better at tweaking the rails and putting the tuck in them right and making them a bit smoother. I've got a little bit better at positioning the concave. I've got a little bit better at where the hard edge starts and goes round, and you know, you're just working on those little things all the time, so every time you do them, I mean, again, most people would probably struggle to notice those different refinements, but you know, I'm continuing to like look at what I've done, and then look at production boards and look at how they ride, and you know, listen to shapers and watch videos, and you know, good old Matt Kazuma and on YouTube, he's pretty good if you look at a lot of his stuff, and you can kind of apply some of his principles and try and see ways that you could improve. So yeah, I think the overall finish and the overall shape and the refinement in the shape is still coming on, which is quite nice. Not that there's anything wrong with them even from the early stages for what we're using for, but yeah, I'm happy where my shaping's got to. Yeah, I'll show you through the concaves. It's relatively simple on this one, and thanks for watching. So bottom contours on the thumbtail, hopefully you can see this all right. So we've got a single concave starting right down from the nose end, I just put them in usually about where the rocker starts to break, and then as we come through, that single concave's getting deepest underneath where your front foot should be, and then as we come back, I'm usually looking to transition into a double concave just through the fins here. So just coming into the fins there, you should be able to start seeing a little bit of double concave, and then I try and make that deepest through the middle of the front fins, and then you should still see that double concave just in there as we go through the rear quads. And then I tend to like to put a little bit of V just here. This has actually still got a bit of resin bead buildup, so I could bring it down more if I wanted to, but it's basically, this one's basically single double, and then it's pretty much flat off the tail. But I quite like that. I might just have a look at it and just see, because I can always take this lip down just a little bit further if I want to get a bit more of a transition, but I think it's pretty good. So yeah, coming back through, see, it's pretty much flat on this one really off the tail. There was a bit of V-shaped into it, but just lost that little bit of it with that build-up of the lap and the resin at the back. Yeah, and then as we come through these rear fins, the double's just starting in there, and then you can see the double through the center of the front fins, and then that's transitioning into the single concave. Still got the double still inside the single going through the fins, and then the single concave just gets deepest down here under the front foot, and then fades out into not so much down in the nose. So hopefully you can see all that all right. As I say, you know, you got a nice smooth rounded tail, pretty good hard edge on there, and yeah, nice transition from there. I'm trying my best these days to get the hard edge to be sort of, you know, just as it goes into the fin, and then getting hard past that, and then smoothing out through here. And as I say, the rails, I've tried to make these smoother and more rounded up here, and put like quite a decent tuck in there. That tends to be a feature of like certainly the Lost boards do it a lot, and I think it gives a lot of forgiveness if you put a lot of tuck here, and you end up with quite a rounded rail up in the front end of the nose here, and then you drop it to a lower rail as you go into the tail. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, again, this one's 6'2", 21 3/4, 2 3/4, and it's basically made for waves 2 foot to a little bit overhead. Should be very versatile. I think I'd be alright if it was a bit bigger, if I got caught out, and you know, if it's a bit smaller it'd still go. Cheers.